I stepped into my courtroom that morning like I always do, ready to cut through the nonsense. The bailiff called the case, and I settled into my chair, peering over my glasses at the two parties standing before me. Plaintiff, a quiet, middle-aged woman named Mrs. Elena Ramirez, who looked like she'd been through the ringer. Defendant, a slick 20-something guy in an overpriced suit, hair gelled to within an inch of its life, smirking like he owned the place. His name was Derek Voss. Mrs. Ramirez, I said, my voice sharp as a tack, tell me what this young man did to you. She spoke softly at first, hands twisting in her lap. Derek had rented the apartment above hers for 6 months. Loud parties every weekend, holes punched in walls, late-night screaming matches with his girlfriend. But the final straw? He flooded her ceiling with a broken washing machine he refused to fix. Water damage ruined her furniture, her carpets, her peace of mind. She had photos, receipts, repair estimates, everything. I nodded. Facts. I like facts. Derek rolled his eyes so hard I thought they might pop out. Your Honor, this is ridiculous. She's blowing it out of proportion. It was an accident. An accident? I leaned forward. You mean the kind of accident that happens when you ignore 3 written notices and keep running that machine like it's a carnival ride? Sit down and stop fidgeting. You're not at a club. He sat, but that smirk stayed plastered on his face. I could already smell the entitlement from across the bench. I've seen 1,000 Derek's kids who think the world owes them because daddy has money, or they once shook hands with somebody important. I turned back to Mrs. Ramirez. How much are we talking? $8,000, Your Honor? That's what the restoration company quoted. Derek snorted. 8,000? Lady, you live in a shoebox. Your stuff wasn't worth that. That's when I felt the temperature in the room shift. I fixed him with the stare, the one that makes lawyers sweat. Mr. Voss, you will address the plaintiff with respect, or you can address the outside of my courtroom door. Understood? He leaned back, crossed his arms. Whatever. Look, I know people. This is small claims. It's not even real court. I raised an eyebrow. Not real court? Son, this is my courtroom. It's as real as it gets. Now explain to me why you think you're above fixing what you broke. He started rambling about how busy he was, social media, influencer, brand deals, important meetings, the usual nonsense. I let him talk for about 30 seconds before I cut him off. Important meetings? With who? The pizza delivery guy? Because from where I'm sitting, you look like a boy playing dress up in his father's suit. The gallery chuckled. Derek's face flushed red. He shot up from his chair. You can't talk to me like that. Do you even know who I am? There it was, the magic words, the phrase that always makes my blood boil because it usually comes right before the dumbest behavior I've seen all week. I let the silence hang for a beat. Then I smiled that cold, sweet smile I save for special idiots. Do I know who you are? Let me tell you something, Derek Voss. I've been a judge for longer than you've been alive. I've sat across from murderers, con artists, millionaires, and politicians. Real people with real power. You're a kid who can't even keep his own laundry from destroying someone else's home. So no, I don't know who you are. And after today, neither will anyone else once this goes viral on that precious social media of yours. He opened his mouth, but I held up my hand. Sit down. He sat. I turned to Mrs. Ramirez. Ma'am, you've got solid evidence. This young man flooded your apartment, ignored your complaints, and now he wants to play the important person card. In my courtroom, we don't care about your followers or your brand. We care about responsibility. Derek tried again. Your Honor, I have connections. My uncle is... Your uncle could be the president for all I care. You damaged this woman's property. You're going to pay for it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $8,000 plus court costs. And Mr. Voss? He glared at me. Next time you feel like announcing how important you are, try paying your bills on time. It'll make you look a lot smarter. Case closed. I banged the gavel. But as they gathered their things, I could see Derek wasn't done. His face twisted with rage. He muttered something under his breath about suing me, about how I'd regret it. I leaned forward again. Mr. Voss, if you think threatening a judge in her own courtroom is a good career move, you really are as dumb as you look. Bailiff, escort him out if he can't behave. The gallery erupted in applause as he stormed out, red-faced and humiliated. Mrs. Ramirez wiped tears from her eyes and thanked me quietly. I waved it off. Just doing my job, dear. Go fix your ceiling. That afternoon, the clip started circulating. Someone in the audience had recorded it on their phone. Judge Judy destroys entitled kid who says, "Do you even know who I am?" Within hours, it had hundreds of thousands of views. People loved it. They always do when someone gets exactly what they deserve. But I wasn't thinking about the views. I was thinking about Mrs. Ramirez sleeping peacefully in her apartment again without water dripping on her head. That's what matters. Not the theatrics. Not the fame. Just the truth. Delivered straight, no chaser. Later that day, my producer poked his head in. "Judy, that clip is blowing up. Networks are calling." I shrugged, already reviewing the next case file. "Good. Maybe some other entitled brat will watch it and learn something before they stand in my courtroom. Now who's next?" The day wasn't over. There were more fools to deal with, more nonsense to slice through. But that moment with Derek Voss, it reminded me why I still do this. Because in a world full of people screaming, "Do you know who I am?" somebody needs to remind them. Nobody cares until they face the consequences. I stepped out of the courtroom for a quick break after that circus, but the energy from the Voss case still crackled in the air. My staff was buzzing, phones were lighting up. I waved them off. Save the excitement. We've got a docket full of people who can't manage their own lives. Let's keep moving. But Derek Voss wasn't finished making a fool of himself. Later that same afternoon, during the next case, my bailiff leaned in and whispered that the young man had refused to leave the building. He was out in the hallway, on his phone, ranting to whoever would listen. "She embarrassed me on camera. I'll sue her for defamation." I almost laughed out loud. Defamation? In my courtroom? The nerve of some people. I finished the current case, a simple dog bite dispute where both owners were equally clueless, and then I did something I rarely do. I had the bailiff bring Mr. Voss back in. Not for another hearing, just for a private word. Because if there's one thing I can't stand, it's a sore loser who thinks the rules don't apply to him. "Mr. Voss," I said as he stood there, still in that ridiculous suit, cheeks still flushed, "You're back. Couldn't stay away?" He puffed up his chest. "You humiliated me in there. My followers are already turning on me. This is going to ruin my brand. I have sponsorships lined up. Do you have any idea how much money this could cost me?" I looked him dead in the eye. "Sit down before I have you removed for real this time. And listen carefully, because I'm only going to say this once. You didn't ruin your brand today. You revealed it. You think the world revolves around your little influencer life? Newsflash, it doesn't. Mrs. Ramirez worked 40 years in a factory to afford that apartment. She raised 2 kids alone. You punched holes in her ceiling because you couldn't be bothered to call a repairman. That's not a brand issue. That's a character issue." He tried to interrupt. "But, Your Honor, don't butt me, young man. I've heard every excuse in the book. I'm important. I know people. It was an accident. I've seen defendants cry, lie, and charm their way out of responsibility. You chose to smirk and act superior. That clip you're so worried about, it's not ruining you. It's teaching you if you're smart enough to learn. Pay the judgment. Fix what you broke. Grow up or don't. But don't come crying to my courtroom again when the next landlord evicts you." Derek stared at the floor for the first time. The smirk was gone. For a split second, I saw something almost human flicker across his face, maybe shame, maybe just the realization that his usual tactics weren't working. Then the defiance came roaring back. "You're just an old lady with a gavel," he muttered. "This isn't over." I leaned forward, voice low and cutting. "Old lady, I've buried smarter men than you with nothing but words. This case is over. The judgment stands. If you don't pay, I'll garnish whatever sad little paycheck your brand brings in. And if you keep running your mouth outside my courtroom, you'll find out real quick how connected I actually am to the law. Now get out." He stormed off again, but this time quieter. The bailiff escorted him to the exit. I shook my head. Another one who thought saying, "Do you know who I am?" was some kind of superpower. It's not. It's a neon sign screaming insecurity. Word of the case spread faster than I expected. By the end of the day, my producer was showing me the numbers. Over 2 million views already. Comments pouring in. Judge Judy ate him up. Entitled kids need more of this. Even some parents tagging their teenagers. Watch this and learn. I didn't watch the clip. I don't need to relive my own rulings. But I did think about Mrs. Ramirez. She called my chambers the next morning, voice trembling with gratitude. Your Honor, the money came through faster than I thought. He paid it. I can fix my apartment now. Good, I told her. Enjoy your peace and quiet. And next time someone floods your life, don't wait 6 months to do something about it. Act sooner. She laughed softly. Yes, ma'am. That should have been the end of it. But life has a funny way of circling back. 2 weeks later, another case landed on my docket. Different names, same story. A young man, another self-proclaimed content creator, had trashed a rental property. This time, it was a car parked in the driveway that got keyed after a noise complaint. The defendant walked in with the same swagger Derek had, same gelled hair, same attitude. Before he even opened his mouth, I pointed at him. Let me guess, you're about to tell me you know important people? He blinked, caught off guard. The gallery laughed. His mouth opened and closed like a fish. I didn't let him recover. I've seen your type twice this month already. You break things, you ignore responsibility, then you cry foul when someone holds you accountable. Not in my courtroom. Plaintiff, present your evidence. The case was open and shut. Judgment for the plaintiff. Full amount. As the gavel came down, I looked straight at the defendant. Tell your friend Derek Voss I said hello, and remind him, next time he asks if I know who he is, the answer is still no, but I know exactly what he is. Case closed. The pattern was clear. These kids were all cut from the same cheap cloth raised on likes and followers instead of consequences. They strut in thinking their little online worlds make them untouchable. They leave understanding that real life has a judge who doesn't care about their metrics. By the end of the month, the original clip had 30 million views. Derek Voss tried to spin it, posted apology videos that nobody bought. His sponsorships dried up. Last I heard, he was moving back in with his parents. Mrs. Ramirez sent me a photo of her repaired living room. Clean, dry, peaceful. That picture meant more to me than all the viral fame combined. I sat in my chambers that Friday, reviewing files for the following week, and allowed myself a small smile. Not because I enjoyed humiliating fools, though I won't lie, it has its moments, but because every now and then, one of them actually learns the world needs more people who pay what they owe, fix what they break, and stop pretending they're special just because they can yell into a camera. And if they don't learn, well, that's why I still show up every day. Somebody has to tell them the truth. I sat back in my chambers that Friday afternoon, the photo from Mrs. Ramirez still on my desk. Clean ceilings, dry floors, a woman who could finally breathe in her own home again. Small victories like that keep me going through the parade of nonsense that walks through my doors every week. But I knew the Derek Voss story wasn't buried yet. People don't let go of viral moments that fast, especially when they make someone look as foolish as he did. Monday morning rolled around, and the courtroom was packed tighter than usual. Word had spread. Spectators wanted to see if lightning would strike twice. I called the first case, but before I could even get the details, the bailiff handed me a note. Derek Voss was back in the building. Not as a defendant this time, he'd shown up as a spectator, sitting in the back row with a baseball cap pulled low, trying to blend in. The nerve. I didn't acknowledge him at first. Let him stew. The case before me was another classic. A landlord versus a tenant who'd thrown wild parties and left the place looking like a war zone. The tenant, a 24-year-old named Tyler, strutted in with the same cocky energy Derek once had, same vocabulary too. Your Honor, this is exaggerated. I know people in the industry. This could blow up if you rule against me. I stopped him mid-sentence with one look. Industry? What industry professional freeloading? Sit down. I've heard this song before, and the record is scratched. Tyler kept talking anyway. Do you even know who I am? I have a podcast, 500,000 downloads. That did it. I leaned forward, voice cutting through the air like a knife. 500,000 downloads? Congratulations. In my world, that doesn't excuse destroying someone else's property. I don't care if you're the king of TikTok. You owe this landlord $14,000 for the damage. Pay it. And while you're at it, tell your little friend Derek in the back row that showing up here uninvited is borderline stalking. Next time I see either of you wasting my time, I'll find a way to make it your problem for longer than a day. The gallery turned. Derek sank lower in his seat. Tyler turned pale. I banged the gavel. Judgment entered. Another one bites the dust. During the recess, my producer pulled me aside. Judy, Derek's been calling producers. He wants a sit-down interview to tell his side. Says the clip was edited. I laughed a short, sharp bark. Edited? The man said the words on camera. Nobody edited his attitude. Tell him if he wants my side, he can watch the full tape. I stand by every word. But Derek wasn't done stirring the pot. That afternoon, after I'd cleared 3 more cases, each one featuring some variation of entitled behavior, he waited outside the courthouse. My security spotted him pacing near my car. When I walked out, he approached, hands up like he was surrendering. Your Honor, wait, please. I lost 2 major sponsors. My girlfriend left me. I didn't think it would go this far. I stopped, keys in hand, and looked him square in the face. You didn't think? That's the problem with your generation, Derek. You never think past the next like or comment. You flooded that poor woman's home and thought important people would save you. Reality doesn't work that way. I've been doing this job long enough to know character is what you do when nobody's watching. You showed yours on camera for the whole world. He shifted on his feet, the gelled hair now messy, suit replaced by jeans and a hoodie. I paid her. I paid the full amount. Can't you, make a statement or something, help clear my name? I raised an eyebrow. Clear your name? Son, your name was never that important to begin with. You want redemption? Earn it the old-fashioned way. Get a real job. Pay your bills on time. Treat people with respect even when there's no camera rolling. Stop announcing who you are and start showing what you are. I'm a judge, not a publicist. My job is justice, not image repair. For the first time, he didn't argue. He just nodded slowly, eyes on the pavement. I get it now. I really do. I got in my car. Good. Then go do something with it. And stay out of my courtroom unless you're prepared to act like an adult. That should have been the final chapter. But stories like this have legs. A week later, Mrs. Ramirez appeared on a local news segment, thanking the system and me for giving her back her home. Derek, to his credit, posted a short video admitting he'd been wrong. No excuses. Just, I messed up, I'm working on it. Views were lower, but the comments were kinder. Growth, maybe, or damage control, time would tell. Meanwhile, my courtroom kept rolling. Another young woman came in suing her ex-roommate for unpaid rent and a destroyed security deposit. The defendant tried the same line. I have influencers in my circle. This is going to look bad for you, Judge. I cut her off before she finished. Influencers? Darling, I've been influencing courtroom behavior since before you were born. Save the threats. Pay what you owe, or I'll make sure the collection agencies influence your credit score for the next decade. Case closed. The pattern repeated itself like a bad chorus in a terrible song. Entitlement, confrontation, consequences. Each time I saw that flash of recognition in their eyes when they realized, do you know who I am, was the weakest defense in the book. It never worked. Not once. By the end of the month, the original clip had topped 50 million views. Networks wanted me for specials. I turned most of them down. I'm not here for entertainment. I'm here for the Mrs. Ramirez's of the world, the quiet ones getting stepped on by people who think volume and followers equal rights. One evening, as I reviewed the week's rulings, I allowed myself a rare moment of reflection. I've seen every excuse, every lie, every power play, but the ones who say, do you even know who I am, are the easiest to handle. They tell you exactly who they are in that moment. Scared, insecure, and overdue for a reality check. My job isn't to destroy them. It's to hand them the mirror and make them look. Derek never came back to my courtroom. Last I heard, he'd taken a regular job, something in sales, learning how to earn respect the hard way. Mrs. Ramirez sent me flowers with a note. Thank you for seeing the truth. I placed them on my desk. Justice served, lessons learned, another day done. But tomorrow, there would be new fools with new lines, and I'd be ready, gavel in hand, patience thin, truth ready to drop like a hammer. I wrapped up another long week, but the ripple effects from Derek Voss kept washing up on my shore like seaweed after a storm. Tuesday morning, I walked into a courtroom that felt more like a studio audience than Justice Hall. Cameras from a couple of news crews lingered in the back. Someone had tipped them off that the Judge Judy who took down the influencer was presiding. I hated it. My job isn't performance art. It's truth with a gavel. First case, a young woman suing her former best friend over a ruined wedding dress and a destroyed bridal shower. The defendant, Miss Social Media herself, rolled her eyes when I asked for her side. Your Honor, it was an accident. I'm verified on 3 platforms. This is going to tank my engagement if you rule against me. I stared at her until the silence got uncomfortable. Verified? Honey, the only verification I need is proof you owe this woman $3,000 for destroying her once-in-a-lifetime dress because you accidentally spilled red wine while taking selfies. You're not special. You're sloppy. Judgment for the plaintiff. Pay it. As she stormed out, muttering, I caught sight of Derek again sitting quietly in the back. This time, no cap, no attitude. He'd shown up voluntarily. Interesting. I didn't call him out. Let him watch real consequences up close. By afternoon, we hit the main event of the day. A landlord versus a group of 3 roommates who turned a nice suburban house into a content house from hell. Broken windows, cigarette burns in the carpet, and a kitchen that looked like a science experiment gone wrong. The ringleader, a loudmouth named Jax, stood up like he was on stage. Do you even know who we are, Judge? Our channel has 2 million subscribers. Brands pay us. This old man is just jealous of our success. I let out a short laugh, the kind that usually precedes me dismantling someone. 2 million subscribers? That's cute. I have a gavel and 40 years of experience watching people like you crash and burn. You flooded the basement. You trashed the walls with your set design. And now you want sympathy? Not today. Not ever. You 3 owe this landlord $22,000, split equally. And if I hear one more word about your subscriber count, I'll add contempt to the bill. Jax tried the stare down. I stared back harder. He folded. The gallery clapped as they shuffled out, defeated. I glanced toward Derek. He was nodding slowly, like the lesson was finally sinking in. During the break, he approached the bench quietly after I motioned the bailiff to let him through. No entourage, no phone recording, just a young man who looked smaller than he had a month ago. Your Honor, I've been watching. I get it now. I came today because I wanted to see if it was just me or if I really was acting that stupid. I looked him over. No smirk, no designer suit, just jeans and honesty. Sit for a minute, Derek. You were acting stupid, but showing up here without causing a scene. That's the first smart thing you've done since I met you. What do you want? He swallowed. I paid Mrs. Ramirez. I got a real job, entry-level marketing, nothing flashy. My followers dropped, but some stayed for the real stuff. I posted the apology because I meant it. Not for the views, just because you were right. I didn't know who I was. I only knew who I pretended to be. I nodded once, sharp. Good. Pretending gets you exactly what you deserve, nothing. Reality rewards people who show up, fix their messes, and shut their mouths until they've earned the right to open them. You still have a long way to go, but at least you're walking in the right direction. Don't come back here unless you're on the right side of a case. Understood? Yes, ma'am. He stood to leave, then paused. That clip changed everything. People recognize me now, but not the way I wanted. They see the idiot who got schooled by Judge Judy. It humbled me. I allowed a small smile. Humility looks better on you than arrogance ever did. Now go live like it. Next case. The rest of the week flew by in the usual blur of excuses and evidence. Another influencer type tried the "do you know who I am" line on Thursday. I shut it down faster than before. Son, at this point, I should start charging admission for the rerun. You're the fourth one this month. Same script, different haircut. Pay the damages, learn the lesson, move on. By Friday, the original video had crossed 70 million views. Networks offered big money for a sit-down. I turned them all down. I'm not in the fame business. I'm in the fixing stupid people business, and business was booming. Mrs. Ramirez sent another note, this time with a picture of her grandkids playing in the newly repaired living room. No leaks, no drama, just normal life. That's the real win. Derek messaged my chambers through proper channels a few weeks later, short and respectful. Got promoted at the new job, treating people better. Thank you. I didn't reply. He didn't need praise from me. He needed to keep earning it. I sat in my empty courtroom at the end of the day, gavel resting on the bench, and thought about how one entitled fool with the wrong words can spark 1,000 lessons. The phrase, "Do you even know who I am?" isn't a flex. It's a confession. It says, I'm scared no one sees me, so I'll demand attention instead of earning respect. My job is simple. I make sure they see themselves clearly, whether they like the reflection or not. The world will keep producing Dereks, loud, entitled, allergic to accountability. But as long as I'm on this bench, they'll keep meeting the same response. Straight talk, hard truth, and zero tolerance for nonsense. Some will learn, most won't. But every single one will remember the day Judge Judy told them exactly who they are. And that's enough for me. I closed the last file of the week and allowed myself one quiet moment in the empty courtroom. The lights were low, the benches silent, but the echoes of all those "do you even know who I am" still rang in my ears. It had become an epidemic. One viral clip, one entitled kid, and suddenly every spoiled 20-something thought they could walk into my courtroom waving their follower count like a shield. They learned fast that shields don't work against a gavel. The following Monday brought the heaviest docket I'd seen in months. Word had gotten out. The gallery was standing room only. I spotted Derek again, this time sitting near the front, notepad in hand, like he was auditing life. Good. Let him watch what real accountability looks like day after day. First case up. A retired school teacher suing her neighbor's son for repeatedly crashing a drone into her greenhouse. The young man, maybe 21, baseball cap backward, tattoos crawling up his neck, stood there with that familiar smirk. Your Honor, it's just a drone. Hobby stuff. I've got a big account on, I cut him off before he could finish the sentence I'd heard 100 times. Save it. I don't care if you have 1 million followers doing backflips off rooftops. You destroyed this woman's prize roses and her glass panels. She's on a fixed income. You're going to pay every penny of the $4,800 in repairs. And the next time you want to play pilot, do it over your own property, not hers. He tried the line anyway. Do you even know who I am? I'm verified. People listen to me. I leaned forward, voice like a whip. Verified? The only thing verified here is your stupidity. You're a boy with expensive toys and zero respect for other people's peace. Sit down. Judgment for the plaintiff. Next. The teacher left with tears in her eyes and a smile breaking through. Derek watched intently. I could see the wheels turning in his head. By mid-morning, we'd burned through 4 more cases, each one featuring some variation of the same disease. Young people who believed their online personas made them bulletproof. One tried to film me on his phone. I had the bailiff remove it faster than he could say content. During the lunch break, Derek approached respectfully. Your Honor, can I have 2 minutes? I nodded. He stood straight now. No slouch, no attitude. I've been taking notes, he said. Not for clout, just learning. I got another job offer, nothing glamorous, but steady. I turned down a brand deal because it felt fake. I'm trying, ma'am. Really trying. I studied him. The gel was gone. The eyes were clearer. Trying is the price of admission to being a decent human being, Derek. You flooded a woman's home. You embarrassed yourself on camera. Now you're paying the price and learning from it. That's more than most do. Keep going. Don't come back here for attention. Come back only if you ever need to stand up for someone who can't stand up for themselves. That's the only good use of what happened to you." He nodded, swallowed hard, and left without another word. Progress. The afternoon session turned into a masterclass in consequences. A pair of influencers had wrecked a shared Airbnb party damage, missing furniture, walls covered in marker from their creative shoot. The owner, a single mother trying to make ends meet, stood trembling as she presented the photos. The main defendant puffed up. "Judge, this is going to go viral. Our audience loves drama. You rule against us, and it'll look bad for the court system." I laughed outright, sharp, dry, the kind that makes defendants shrink. "The court system survived worse than your TikTok tantrum. You two owe this woman $12,000. Split it. And if either of you utters the phrase, 'Do you know who I am?' I will add court costs so fast your heads will spin. Case closed." They paid. They always do when the mirror gets shoved in their face. As the day wound down, I called one final surprise. I had the bailiff bring Mrs. Ramirez in. She'd asked to speak, and I allowed it. She stood before the bench, voice steady. "Your Honor, because of you, I have my home back. My grandkids can visit without plastic on the floors. I just wanted to say thank you in person." The gallery applauded. I waved it off, but I felt it the quiet satisfaction that makes this job worth every headache. "Ma'am, you did the hard part. You stood up. I just reminded the boy he wasn't above the rules. Go enjoy your peace." She left smiling. Derek stood and clapped with everyone else. No phone, no performance, just respect. That evening, as I walked to my car, the sun setting over the parking lot, I reflected on how one arrogant sentence had changed more lives than I expected. Derek Voss wasn't the villain anymore. He was becoming the cautionary tale that actually stuck. Last I heard through channels, he'd started mentoring younger creators, telling them not to make his mistakes. Mrs. Ramirez had her home. Other landlords got justice. And the viral clip kept teaching long after the gavel fell. I don't do this for applause or views. I do it because someone has to look these kids in the eye and say, "The world doesn't owe you special treatment. It owes you nothing. You owe it responsibility, respect, and the willingness to fix what you break." The next morning would bring new cases, new fools, new versions of the same tired line, and I'd be ready straight-backed, sharp-tongued, and completely unimpressed. Because in my courtroom, nobody is above the truth. Not influencers, not important people, not even the ones who shout their own names loudest. Just regular people getting regular justice, delivered without sugarcoating, and that's exactly how it should be.